Hi, Simon. It's a very warm welcome to you as the new director of rowing for JEPI. And from everyone at JEPI Boats and Blades, welcome. I'm sure that the club's going to benefit from your impressive background and expertise. And we look forward to working with you as we look to equip the club. So I guess the first question, why rowing? You've got an incredible repertoire or background in terms of rowing. Why rowing? What drew you to the sport?
Yeah, so Greg, no, thanks very much for the warm welcome. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think with rowing and why I was kind of drawn to it was we were invited to go on a rowing camp as part of our introduction into kind of high school. So it was the year before we started high school. We were invited to go on a rowing camp in kind of the end of my standard 5 year, and I just remember it being a whole lot of fun, to be honest. There wasn't really anything, specific about, the boats themselves or the sport itself. But I just remember having a really, really good time on that camp. And, then kind of gave me a bit more confidence going into high school then. We had met some people who we were all in the same kind of boat with, mind the pun, starting as a kind of new boy at a big high school, and as we just had so much fun together as an age group. And after that first rowing camp at the end of my standard 5 year, I kind of just didn't look back at all. And yeah, it's just been great ever since.
Excellent. Would you mind sharing with us one of your experiences as a national junior rowing coach?
Yeah, so just to correct you, I actually wasn't, I've never been selected as an international or a junior national rowing coach. I did some brief work for the RMB's kind of senior national team as an administrator. And that really opened my eyes up to kind of understand what it takes to produce, a kind of Olympic medal winning, World Cup medal winning, World Championship medal winning cruising performances from a rowing point of view. South Africa isn't a particularly well resourced a sport when it comes to rowing compared to the other big sports. But in my time working with these kind of top guys, it really kind of showed how we punch above our weight. And I think for me that was really eye-opening at what South Africa has and can achieve, and how they do achieve it in relation to other countries which have, I think, far more resources than we necessarily do.
Excellent. That sounds like Jeffy boys. Yeah, that's where we find ourselves very often. So, on that note, why JP rowing?
Yeah, so I think as you mentioned, a lot of the kind of JP, I wouldn't say values, but certainly the experiences that I've come into contact with as a junior rower, as a coach, as a senior and masters rower, certainly there's a lot of parallels with, I think, what SA rowing as a whole has achieved. There's a certain, I don't think SA rowing doesn't rest on its laurels and say, okay, well, we're not achieving these results because we don't have X amount of resources or X amount of money. I mean, there's, the kind of philosophy there is we're here to do as best as we can, and there's a passion and a drive to achieve that. And looking back at the historical kind of medals that we won as a country, I think JP have a similar kind of outlook to that, and in terms of performances. I mean, you look at guys like, kind of in my era, there was a guy called Pete Lambert, who I know has been interviewed here already, and he's gone off to represent South Africa numerous times, and now he's been pretty much the stroke man for a pretty formidable GB quad for a very long time. And to produce that kind of quality, in not only an athlete but in a person, obviously takes a good grounding. And I think JP obviously has a fertile grounding for good rowers and good athletes, and I think it's a club that any coach would want to be part of.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. So you've been introduced to our JP Boats and Blades initiative. What are your thoughts on this, and how do you believe that ex-JP oarsmen can get involved?
Yeah, so I think it's a great initiative. I think fundraising as a kind of topic can be quite overbearing. It can be repetitive. It can be, certainly for the recipient, be people can have mixed feelings about it, I think. But I think when you're appealing to a population of people who are so passionate about a topic or a sport, and that sport has brought so much value and so much joy into their life, it's something that I think you'll automatically migrate to, and something automatically you'll want to be a part of. I mean, it's very rare that you find somebody who's been part of a school rowing club or a university rowing club that's kind of, it hasn't changed their lives in a way and hasn't brought extreme value into it. So, so I think for the JP Old Boys to get involved with that and to support a kind of initiative which brought them such joy in their kind of younger days, I think is something certainly kind of worth getting involved with.
Absolutely agree. So from your time as a rowing coach, is there one particular significant memory that you recall with fondness? And I'm sure there's many, but just well, one, two maybe.
Yeah, so there's a distinct memory of us. We were at a school level. In my final year, we went down to the Buffalo Regatta on a tour, and coming from kind of the Gauteng, the Highveld, Joburg, you kind of arrive in the Eastern Cape and you kind of welcomed with this humidity in the air. All your senses are quite changed and quite challenged just because your environment is quite different. And so I remember we got off the plane and we kind of got into a bus, and the first thing we had to do was go down and rig our boat, and we were kind of straight on the water for a session just to have a bit of a loosen up. And in addition to the humidity and the smells and kind of all your senses being quite challenged, the Buffalo is obviously tidal compared to Ridderplot, which is static. So you've also got the sense of when we got into the water, I just remember we were warming up and the sun was going down, and we're on this beautiful river where you felt like you were just absolutely flying because of the tide. The tide was flowing. Our lungs were just full of oxygen because we were so used to training at high altitude that there was just this overwhelming sense of, I can't even really describe it, but it was just a poignant memory in my kind of brain when we were warming up, thinking, geez, this is amazing. And it's so awesome to be down on a school tour. We're here to race hard. We're here to have fun with our mates because, we had a really kind of close bond with our whole 8. And I just remember thinking, geez, whatever happens in this regatta, it's really become quite memorable just because of this small experience. So it's, that's one that certainly sticks out for me.
Brilliant. The amount of times that the Buffalo Regatta gets mentioned in these interviews is significant. I would say 70-80% of the time Buffalo Regatta is mentioned. So,
oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
So, Simon, thank you so much for your time. It's been incredible speaking to you, and thank you for your contribution. And to everybody else out there, please do go look at our website. That's www.jpboatsandblades.co.za. And until we chat again, until we see each other online, keep calm, keep pulling together for gold, and keep safe. Thank you very much.